Law enforcement officers are seen at an elementary school in the community of Rancho Tehama Reserve, where a gunman opened fire Tuesday, November 14, 2017. In Corning, Calif, a gunman choosing targets at random opened fire in the rural Northern California town Tuesday, killing several people at several sites and wounding others at the elementary school before police shot him dead, authorities said. AP photo, Rich Pedroncelli. Red Bluff, Calif. The latest on deadly shootings in Northern California. All times local. 6 p.m. Authorities say a gunman tried to get into rooms at a California elementary school with the intent of shooting children, but that workers initiated a lockdown that saved lives. Tehama County Assistant Sheriff Phil Johnston says school officials heard shots being fired and immediately locked down Rancho Tehama School in a tiny, rural town Tuesday. He says it was monumental that school workers took the action they did, and there is no doubt in his mind they saved the lives of countless children. Authorities say the gunman, who hasn't been identified, killed 4 people and wounded at least 10 others, including a child, after he opened fire at the school. ____4:35 p.m. Authorities say one of 4 victims killed by a gunman on a shooting rampage was a neighbor he was accused of assaulting in January. Tehama County Assistant Sheriff Phil Johnston says the neighbor had a restraining order against the gunman. He says the neighbor was a woman but gave no other details. Authorities say the gunman, who hasn't been identified, killed 4 people Tuesday and wounded at least 10 others, including a child at Rancho Tehama School. ____4 p.m. At least a dozen evidence technicians wearing white coveralls and yellow boots are working at an elementary school in Northern California that was attacked by a gunman on a shooting rampage. Authorities say the gunman, who has not been identified, killed 4 people Tuesday and wounded at least 10 others, including a child at Rancho Tehama School. Tehama County Assistant Sheriff Phil Johnston says the gunman opened fire onto the school and at 6 other spots throughout the rural community without provocation, before 2 officers fatally shot him. The school, hidden behind by pine trees, was blocked off with yellow crime scene tape as FBI agents helped process the scene. ____1:50 p.m. The assistant sheriff in Northern California says a gunman opened fire without provocation in a rural town, killing 4 people and wounding 10, before police fatally shot him. Tehama County Assistant Sheriff Phil Johnston says investigators are trying to determine a motive in the shootings Tuesday in the small community of Tehama Ranch Reserve. Johnston says the gunman shot a person, stole a pickup truck and went on a shooting rampage. He says after crashing the truck, the suspect hijacked a second vehicle and kept shooting people at random, including children. There were 7 shooting scenes in all. Johnston says police have recovered a semi-automatic rifle and 2 handguns. Johnston says the gunman was involved in a domestic violence incident Monday. ____1:30 p.m. Vice President Mike Pence says he is deeply saddened to learn of a series of shootings in Northern California that has resulted in the loss of multiple lives and injuries to children. Pence is praising courageous law enforcement officers responding in Tehama County. He says the Trump administration will continue to monitor the situation and will provide federal support to local officials. He said on Twitter, "We pray for comfort and healing for all impacted." Local authorities say 5 people have been killed, including the shooter, and that 2 children are among the wounded. 1 was shot at an elementary school. ____1 p.m. A witness to a series of deadly shootings in rural Northern California says the gunman shot at a truck in front of him as he was dropping off his 3 kids at school. Salvador Tello said Tuesday that he also saw a dead woman lying on a street about a quarter-mile from Rancho Tehama School. He says the woman's husband was beside her and had been shot in the leg. Tello says he was about 3 blocks from the school when bullets tore into the truck. He made his kids get down and slammed his vehicle into reverse. Tello says the gun must have been large because the bullets made big holes in the truck carrying several men. Tehama County Assistant Sheriff Phil Johnston says the gunman had a semi-automatic rifle and 2 handguns and was randomly picking targets. ___1 p.m. At least 10 children and adults have been hospitalized after a series of shootings in rural Northern California that left 5 dead, including the gunman. Low Medical Center says in a statement that 5 people were treated there and that 3 have been released. Spokeswoman Nicole Johansson says 3 of the patients were minors. Separately, 3 people were being treated at a hospital in Redding, about 50 miles north of the shootings. The Record Searchlight reported 2 more victims were taken to St. Elizabeth Community Hospital in Red Bluff. The hospitals haven't released the extent of the injuries. ___12:25 p.m. California Gov. Jerry Brown says he and his wife, Ann, are saddened by the shooting in a rural northern part of the state that shockingly involved school children. Brown offered their condolences to the families who lost loved ones and said they are united with all Californians in grief. Tehama County Assistant Sheriff Phil Johnston says 5 people were killed, including the shooter, and that 2 children are among the wounded. Hospital says they are treating 7 people, including 3 minors. Johnston says the gunman had a semi-automatic rifle and 2 handguns and was randomly picking targets. ___11:50 a.m. Authorities say a series of shootings in rural Northern California left 5 people dead, including the shooter, and that 2 children were among the wounded. Tehama County Assistant Sheriff Phil Johnston says 1 child was shot at a school Tuesday and another was shot while riding in a pickup truck with a woman who was also wounded. Johnston says the shooter was randomly picking targets. Quote, he says there were 7 shooting scenes and that there may be more victims. Investigators have recovered a semi-automatic rifle and 2 handguns. ___11:35 a.m. At least 7 children and adults have been hospitalized after a series of shootings in rural Northern California that left at least 3 others dead. Low Medical Center spokeswoman Nicole Johansson said the hospital is treating 4 people Tuesday, including 3 minors. She said 1 patient was flown by helicopter to the hospital in Chico, about 50 miles southeast of the shootings. Johansson provided no other information. Separately, 3 people were being treated at a hospital in Redding, about 50 miles north of the shootings. ___11:15 a.m. A man says his roommate is among the victims in Northern California and that his neighbor was the gunman. Brian Flynn tells the Record Searchlight newspaper in the city of Redding on Tuesday that his neighbor, whom he knows only as Kevin, also stole his truck. He says he and his roommate told authorities that their neighbor was acting crazy and threatening them. Flint says he had been shooting hundreds of rounds from large magazines. Authorities say shootings at multiple locations have left 3 people dead and several others wounded, including students at an elementary school. ___11:15 a.m. A Northern California hospital says it's treating 3 people shot in a rural neighborhood. Authorities say 3 people were killed and several wounded at multiple locations, including an elementary school about 130 miles north of Sacramento. Marcy Miracle, a spokeswoman for Mercy Medical Center in Redding, declined further comment. Redding is about 50 miles north of where the shootings occurred. 10:40 a.m. Authorities say 3 people have been killed in shootings at multiple locations in rural Northern California, and the shooter has been killed by law enforcement. Students also were shot and wounded at an elementary school. It's not clear if the shooter is included among the dead. Tuesday, Tehama County Assistant Sheriff Phil Johnston tells a TV station in the city of Chico that officers are investigating at least 5 crime scenes in and around the school in Rancho Tehama Reserve, about 130 miles north of Sacramento. Janine Quist, an administrative assistant with the Corning Union Elementary School District, says no one was killed at the school, but a number of students were shot and wounded.